Happy people in Mount Gambier today?
I think there'd be very many. Tab would be paying out well, I think.
Ricky, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Ricky Broom, the winning trainer here in the second event, was sedately placing 7-4 and 3 time, 137.6. We'll take a break as the winner is unsettled now and be back with all the information on the Hardy Brothers Classic on the other side of this commercial break.
Popular result, $4.50 for the winner, $1.80 for the place, and this mare was just so unlucky last start at Caulfield. Centile paid $4.80 the place, and Bon Pressure $4.60 the place. Both those mares racing in great heart. Quinella $41.10, the trifecta $708.50, and the race-to-race double, a big one as you would well expect, with a 50-to-1 winner in the first leg, $391.90. The race-to-race doubles in Melbourne, races 1 and 2, that dividend $391.90. So some big results, but a more popular result as far as the winner was concerned, sedately.
And there is sedately, and she's a nice, big, solid, strong mare, and that was a good win. Very courageous one indeed.
The program, and there it is. Dan, take us through.
Peter, Cannibal King at $7.90 and $3.30. Dr. Zachary, $17. Plushka, to be ridden by Pat Payne, $12.10. Super Shaquille, $6.10. Sword at $7.10. I Love Sydney, $5.30. Paddington End at $9.70. You can gather there's quite a few chances, even though it's a fairly small field. Wall Street, $7.90, now to be ridden by Shane Dye. And D. Viraja from the David Hayes stable, $5.50 the win and $2 even for the place. So a small field of 9 feet, but there's probably 7 genuine chances.
Yeah, it'll be a good betting race, this one, Dan. The third race coming up, as I said, 1:25 Eastern Standard Time. And, well, as Terry Kennedy said, it was early days after the roughie won the first race on the program. One of the favourites has got up in the second race, so...
One thing you can be sure of during the Melbourne Cup Carnival is plenty of colour, and the Jockey silks are no exception. But this time, fashion has nothing to do with it. The reason behind the colour is purely practical. Before the days of close-up camera shots and saddle numbers, the only way the judges could determine the winning horse was by the colours the jockeys wore. But times have changed, and so have the silks. Mitties have been making jockey silks for over 100 years, and this was one of the earliest. Made literally of silk, they were hand-dyed and hand-stitched, expensive and very heavy to wear. Next came a fabric called Twinkle, lighter than the original silk, but unfortunately not very durable. The development of Lycra revolutionised the silks. They became body-hugging and allowed plenty of movement. But the state of the art is this new satin. It's actually lighter than Lycra, provides ease of movement, durability, and even brighter colours. There are lots of reasons why particular colours are chosen. Some come from family names like white, some are just the owner's favourite colours, and even superstition plays a part. In fact, there was one superstition that if you washed the silks in soapy water, you'd wash away the luck. That's one superstition I'm glad is not around anymore.
Yes, I'm sure that one probably came from Ireland, the one about not washing in the soap, the silks. Well now, fashion competition just quickly. Welcome back. The marvellous history of this great day, Derby Day at Flemington. The big one coming up at 2:45, and only the really, truly great horses, they say, win the Derby. But to win a Melbourne Cup is something obviously truly special. It means you have a place in history, in Australian folklore, in fact. But to win it twice, well, now that is really mind-boggling. Since 1861, when Archer won the first Cup and then again the second in 62, only 3 horses have been able to repeat the dose. There was Peter Pan, there was the Great Rain Lover, of course, and finally in the mid-70s, there was Bart Cummings, aptly named Think Big.
Think Big really is a living legend. Only 4 horses have won 2 Melbourne Cups. Think Big is the only living horse to do it. In fact, he is the oldest living Melbourne Cup winner. Since the hectic racing days in the Bart Cummings stable, Think Big has lived in retirement at jockey Harry White's property at Gisborne on the outskirts of Melbourne. Harry White has 4 Melbourne Cups to his credit, and needless to say, a real soft spot for the horse that provided him with his first 2. Think Big started at 12-to-1 in the 1974 Melbourne Cup, His stablemate, Leilani, was the short-priced favourite.
They talk about Kiwi's finish, but I would say he was every bit as strong, if not even stronger than Kiwi's finish. That's the power of the last furlong that Think Big finished off a 2-mile race.
Think Big is picking it up down the outside, and Think Big has got up to win the Cup.
Think Big failed to win another race until the 1975 Cup. The conditions that day were awful. The track was a quagmire, and Harry White thought he had no hope. So did punters. Think Big started at 33 to 1.
I got to the races and the heavens opened up, and I thought, well, the horse has got no hope. And I was that disappointed. I went and had a lay down, and the club doctor got to give me a call and said, I think he was the only one that backed it. He thought I said I'm in this race. Yeah, he said, I thought I said I'd win it. He went out and backed it. I was 33 to 1.
Think Big wins in second place against
Think Big never got the chance to make it 3 Cups. He broke down in the lead-up to the 1976 Melbourne Cup and has spent the rest of his days with his jockey and, more importantly, his mate, Harry White. On Melbourne Cup Day 1994, Think Big will be 24 years old.
Yes, that's what racing's all about, what horses are all about. They're mates, and you keep them around you forever. Murray-Louise Thiel back in the marquee with the world's imagination on more than one front, that's for sure. Foreigners have long marvelled at our national sporting institution, but now, with the coming of the international contenders, it's much more than that. Among those contenders in '94, the best horse Hong Kong racing has known, River Verdon, brought to you again in more ways than one by Qantas.
From these lush beginnings in Tipperary, River Verdon has emerged as Hong Kong's best ever racehorse. Conceived at Robert Sangster's famous Coolmore stud in Ireland, the 8-year-old gelding has lived right up to the pedigree of sire Be My Native, who was a Group 1 winner at 1.5 miles in England.
Here comes the top one, Hong Kong's main hope, and River Verdon explodes to the front. River Verdon's grabbed them in the Hong Kong Invitation Cup, races away from Prudent Manor, and River Verdon's too good, wins at a length. Prudent Manor.
The Hong Kong champion is based at Sha Tin, along with the territory's 1,000 other racehorses. River Verdon's cup preparation evolved while one of the world's most vibrant cities slept. Pre-dawn at Sha Tin is peak hour, but when Big B is working, you get the feeling he owns the place.
River Verdon is the idol of racing here in Hong Kong. He's won 11 Group 1 races, $4.5 million in prize money, and he'll be ridden by a man who's been placed twice in the Melbourne Cup, John Marshall.
Well, he's virtually done everything you can do in Hong Kong. He's won the Derby, he's won their Triple Crown, he's won all the major staying events in Hong Kong, and he's the idol horse of Hong Kong. He's a very good horse.
57 kilos or 9 stone suggests the VRC handicapper hasn't been too generous. Of the original 431 Cup entries, Mahogany was the highest weighted Australian horse with 56 kilos.
He's a very good horse. He's far better than the opposition here in Hong Kong, and I'm sure he'd hold his own in group races at any rate in Australia or probably England, you know.
River Verdon indicated his fitness for the Cup with a stylish victory at Sha Tin 6 weeks ago.
As River Verdon becomes our first horse to qualify for a Melbourne Cup, and let's hope he does well because he's a grand campaigner here. He wins it by 4, second my hometown, Northern Sydney.
Being an Australian, like, there's no race like the Melbourne Cup. The atmosphere and you know, there's very few places where the whole of a country stops for one race, and it means a lot to every jockey, I think.
He hasn't gone beyond 2,300 metres, but the idol of Hong Kong racing is ready for the supreme test. And after handling 80,000 at Sha Tin, he won't be overawed.
No, he certainly won't be overawed by it, that is for sure. River Verdon, well, last year's...
Oh, Tim, yes, I'm getting myself all organised.
Most importantly, how's Stoney?
Fantastic, absolutely spot on, Tim. He's improved since the Geelong win, and I couldn't be happier with him.
Well, Dad's had, what, 35 derbies, 5 Victoria derbies, and this would be number 1.
It certainly will, yes. I'm having great trouble with my thing here to listen into the person. It just popped out. Sorry.
Never mind, yeah. This would be your first.
It will be my first. It's my first runner in the Derby, and hopefully it'll be first winner.
I think PD, if you can organise that earpiece, has got a question he wants to ask you too. You right there, Pete?
Yes, Tim.
Yep.
Well, Gay, I've seen your fellow at the track this week, and you told me the other day that he's learned to settle a bit better, and that's going to help him in a race like the Derby.
Yes, he certainly has settled better. I couldn't be happier with the way he's worked this week. He's worked over a mile, he's relaxed in the work, and he's coming home sensationally. He's definitely the third pick in the race, but I think he'd be very hard to beat.
Yeah, what do you like in the Cup, just incidentally, while you're here, while I've got you?
I like the mare, she ran second the other day. What do we call her again? Come on, mental block.
Alco.
Yes,
Alco,
that's one. I think that she's
Yeah.
crept in under the handicapper. She's been fighting up finishes in all the lead-up races to the Cup. I think she's the horse to beat on Tuesday.
Yeah. Is Tom here, by the way?
Yes, he certainly is, but he said today in a different role. He's the role of owner.
He's the owner, that's right.
Yeah.
Does he have much to say?
Oh, he has a lot to say, I can assure you. Thank goodness all owners don't say as much as Dad.
Plenty of advice?
Yes, and I'm very pleased that I have the advice of my father.
Yeah, yeah. Not bad advice to get.
You're not kidding, it's the best in the business.
Yeah, all right. Good luck with Stony Bay, and thanks for coming in to see us. I know you're very busy.
Thank you, Tim.
Gay Waterhouse, the trainer of Stony Bay, running in the Derby this afternoon, but they're just about running around in front of Pete Donegan and Jenny Chapman. Down to you.
Yes, in fact, they're heading out to the stalls now, Tim, for the third event. So let's quickly take a look at the runners. And Cannibal King, trained by Johnny Hawkes, back to his own age here.
Yes, I think this horse goes better over 1,200 metres than he does over 1,000. He just likes that little bit extra, and he's got a very good chance here today, Pete.
Darren Beedman's on number 2, Dr. Zachary. Hasn't shown much this preparation, Jen.
No, he has been struggling, Pete, and with the 58 kilos, you know, a fair bit of weight to carry there too.
What about Plushka, number 3? Paddy Payne takes the ride, won the previous event. Is he up to this?
Well, he does like the sting out of the ground, and it probably is a bit today, but no, I don't like Plushka in this race.
This fellow wouldn't win any beauty contest, Super Shaquille, but he's obviously a very talented racehorse.
Yes, he is. As I mentioned before, he did barrier trial very well at Pakenham only a few weeks ago, and he's going to be right up there with them.
I really like the appearance of this fellow, Sword. He looked very hard and fit going to the stalls.
You're not wrong, he certainly did. He's a horse that likes to get out near the lead, and he'll be thereabouts too.
Lee Friedman's is number 6, I Love Sydney, came down the outside here last time, but they'll all go over the flat side here, I'd imagine.
Yes, I think so, Pete, and also I think it's also a bit tougher for this horse too in this race.
7 is Paddington End, David Taggart in the saddle here.
Well, Paddington End, I was quite impressed with his win at Caulfield last start because he did hang most of the way, and he still won impressively, so I give Paddington End a good chance.
Wall Street having his third run this preparation, Shane Dye replacing Simon Marshall.
Yes, he hasn't raced since the 2nd of October, and he's been freshened up, and I think he could be quite competitive here.
And I know you like Devaraja, and after seeing him in the mounting yard, I think your confidence is probably even higher.
I really do like this horse. As I mentioned before, he's very well bred, and he is an absolute picture. He's so strong behind this horse. I think he's got a very good chance here. The only thing he has to do is learn a little bit more about racing, and he might get that here today.
And that's Jenny Chapman's selection in the third event, Devaraja. And I've gone for number 4, Super Shaquille, the Kiwi coming over here. They're going up to the stalls now for race number 3. We'll take a break and be back with the third event on the first day of the VRC Spring Carnival very shortly.
There have been a few chances though. Dr. Zachary 17, Plushka 15.40, Super Shaquille 7.40, Sword at 6.50, I Love Sydney 5.50, Paddington End 9.90, Wall Street showing $7 even, and the favourite is actually horse number 9, Devaraja, having its first start in Victoria. It's only had the one run, but at $4.40 for the win and $2 even for the place, it will run the Popular Elect in race 3, the Victoria Racing Club Stakes. They're at the barrier. This is a Group 3 event.
Most open race, Dan, and let's see what the punters have made of it down there in the betting ring amongst the large crowd in the thick of the action. Here's Terry Kennedy again.
Thanks, Peter. It's a real sea of heads down here in the betting ring. A big crowd, and it continues to build. Well, if you back Cannibal King, the top weight, maybe you should be worried. It has blown out the gate. Super Shaquille's been pretty solid in betting. There's been some very good bets laid on Sword. I Love Sydney's been fairly easy. Number 8, Wall Street's been very heavily backed here. Number 9, the bookmakers, Devaraja, they opened it up short, they let it blow out, but there's been a sea of money for it, Peter. Very well backed, the best back runner in the race.
Righto, Terry, good betting race this, the third.
Field of 9, the light goes on, and they're away in racing. Cannibal King from over on the inside was the best to jump away. He'll lead them up from Sword and Paddington End. Then came Dr. Zachary about 4 out. Further out then was Plushka racing up handy to the lead. I Love Sydney settling behind them with Wall Street. Also Super Shaquille back towards the tail. Devaraja is back about second last. They have about 800 metres to go. Paddington End moved up on the outside of Cannibal King. Further out was Plushka, followed by Dr. Zachary. I Love Sydney's about 2 lengths off them on the rails in about 6th position. Sword on its outside, and then came Super Shaquille, Diva Raja and Wall Street. But they're well bunched up, racing onto the course proper, 550 metres to go. Cannibal King being urged along now, joined by Paddington End. There's a dream run for I Love Sydney as he pokes up on the rails. Cannibal King immediately under pressure, now headed by Paddington End. Sword, Dr. Zachary, Plushka out very wide. I Love Sydney gets up on the inside. Wall Street needs a run. Then Diva Raja. I Love Sydney gets to the front of the 200 though, and he got away. A length and a half to Paddington End, and then came Plushka. But I Love Sydney's raced away, and he's got it won from Plushka and Cannibal King. And I Love Sydney going home to score an easy victory by 3 lengths to Plushka and Cannibal King third. Then Sword, Super Shaquille, Diva Raja. They were never in it. Neither was Wall Street, and Dr. Zachary back of the tail with Paddington End. 111.1 they've run, and the Red Seas parted virtually. Gary Willits
certainly
for
did.
Damien Oliver, and the horse just raced away.
Cannibal King, been by a Sydney horse, just seemed to roll off the fence, left this beautiful dream run for Damien Oliver. And I Love Sydney, well, she won very well the first start Lee Freeman gave her, and it's certainly gone on with it today. Great win.
Yep.
Very good time.
It was stretched across the track at the 400-metre point, but a very heady ride by Damien Oliver. And while a few others, Peter Donegan, got held up, Damien had clear run.
Yeah, well, Dan, they say he's the best in Australia. Lee, you've said that many times before, and he's just showed why.
Yeah, it's a terrific ride. I mean, he was drawn in close. The horse was racing a little bit ungenerously early, and I sort of commented halfway through the race, well, you may as well stay there now. And he must have noticed the leader just come away from the rail, and he's just taken the rails run. It's been a winning move. The horse finished full of running then.
Quite impressive, this Cole.
He is. He's improved a lot since he's come to Melbourne. The family have always been very good up the straight. Kilmarie's mother won a stakes race up the straight, and a couple of others in the family of Catchfire won the Maribyrnong Plate, his full sister. So there's a bit of a family affinity for the straight. And funny, when he won the other day, Bob Husted said to me, he said, do you want to keep running him up the straight? He said, because all of them like it, and he's had a lot of them. So.
You seem to have a few horses that go right up the straight. Are you the master straight trainer? I mean, Simonstead comes to mind.
Yeah, well, they're trained here, Peter. They get plenty of practice.
What's next for him?
I don't know what we'll do with him next. I don't know. We might just put him away and keep him for the autumn, race like the Newmarket or something. He was quite impressive today against what I thought was a good field.
OK, Lee, congratulations, and good luck later in the day with all of your runners.
Thanks. It's nice to strike.
Good on you, Lee Freeman, the winning trainer. Let's go out to Letzi now and catch up with the winning rider, the man who's got such a great rap from Lee Freeman, Damien Oliver.
Damien Oliver, Lee Freeman said you're the best in Australia. Well, that was a beautiful ride, Damien.
Yeah, it's a good rap coming from Lee, but, you know, I could see the horses in front of me shifting around a little bit, so I was always keen I was going to get the run on the fence.
Yeah, when the run come, he took it quick, didn't he?
He did, yeah, and he put himself straight there, which was helpful, and, you know, the last probably 200, he wanted to get his head up in the air a little bit, but, you know, he did it. He did win pretty easy in the end.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Damien. You tipped me Poetic King last year as one of the best you've ridden. This colt go a long way?
Yeah, he's a consistent horse. I think he'll keep improving, but I wouldn't put him in the King's class.
Good luck, mate.
So there he was, Damien Oliver, chatting with John Letts after the third event. A most impressive victory by I Love Sydney. Second placing going to Plushka, and third home was Cannibal King. Fourth in the race was Sword, and fifth was Super Shaquille, and they ran 111.1. The interim dividends, $6.20 and $1.90 for I Love Sydney. Plushka, $4.30. Cannibal King, $2.90. The running double paying $32. And the Quinella there paying $53 and waiting on the trifecta. There are the interim totes as the candidates come back now. Damien Oliver at the head of the fares. We've seen him so many times do that. I wonder how many times we'll see that young man come back on top during this carnival. We'll take a break now. Back with correct weight and the official dividends on the third event, the Victoria Racing Club Stakes. You're watching Network 10's live and exclusive coverage of AAMI Victoria Derby Day.
For the place. Plushka paid $4.30, and Cannibal King, who battled on very well, $2.90. The Quinella dividend, $53. The trifecta, $614.30, and the race-to-race double on races 2 to 3 has paid a dividend of $32.70. And as we just mentioned, Tim just mentioned, it is all clear on 6, 3 and 1.
Yes, and just reminding you too, We haven't done it in previous years, but they are just the Victorian totes for all viewers who are ringing us up and asking. Victorian totes for $1. And there's the scene at Flemington. Everyone looking $1 million and enjoying the day.
I think she's the logical ace winner at the moment. Here's what tote punters have made of it. Take it away, Daniel.
Well, Danarani, as you mentioned, Pete, very short at $1.80 for the win, $1 even for the place. Favourites do have a tremendous record in the Wakeful Stakes. Euphoria, $12.90. Captiva has opened up $5, and at that price, clearly the second favourite. Marathon at $10.10, that's horse 5. Talagas, $60.50. Country Lane, $14.20. Number 8, Dolveet. Gee, she's got some ability. It might be too strong for her, but watch for her later on in her career. $68.10, Dolveet. Dream of the Dance from the Robbie Lang stable, $22. Our Sacrifice, $76. Southern Cape, $96. And Street Theatre, to be ridden by Shane Dye, is at $12.90. Carries the colours that Primacy makes famous. Of course, he's running later on. So really only 2 in the betting at this stage, and I don't think it'll alter too much, Pete, with the 2 that you mentioned, Danarani and Captiva.
Danarani very short here. We'll see how she is in the bookmakers' ring as we take you down to Terry Kennedy and just...
Sheikh Rasheed is somewhat of a newcomer to horse racing in Australia. At 28 years of age, the Sheikh has developed a newly found passion for the industry. It was only 2 years ago Sheikh Rasheed bought his first thoroughbred. And what a debut venture. History now shows the Sheikh's first horse was Bint Masqué. At her third start, the Lee Friedman trained filly won the $2 million Golden Slipper Stakes at Rose Hill.
But it's Bint Masqué. Mighty Mick drives the filly to the lead. Bint Masqué, and she is straighting them. Look at her go. Bint Masqué coming away to record a brilliant slipper win. Just as...
Prior to Bint Masqué, the Sheikh's only interest in racing was with Arab horses.
First of all, I was, you know, thinking to come here and buy horses, take them back home, because we have almost similar weather, you know. And but when I came here, I went to racing at Randwick, and I like the atmosphere of racing here.
Sheikh Rasheed has now bought 2 stallions, former top juvenile Canonise and the American Group 1 winner Agincourt. Both stand for stud duties at Hardwick Stud at Yass in New South Wales. The Sheikh now has many horses, particularly young ones, with various trainers along the East Coast, and is now set to make an even greater impact on the sport in Australia.
Yes, the truly international flavour of horse racing around our country these days. Well, now, you saw Clive James a little earlier looking absolutely resplendent in his morning suit, and of course a lot of people, and the guys in particular, really like to get up in traditional racing attire. Here again is Michelle Downs.
It's Derby Day, a day of traditions, and the wearing of the morning suits for men is just one of them. But tradition's often linked with superstition, and the morning suit is no exception. The Prince of Wales, Edward VII, is thought to have originated the idea of leaving the bottom button of the waistcoat undone. There are 2 theories for this. The first being that he just dressed in a hurry one day and forgot to do it up. The Prince, being a bit of a trendsetter at the time, of course everybody followed suit. But the second theory is that he had a very large appetite. He simply had to leave it undone to allow for his expanding royal tummy. Another tradition is the wearing of the cornflower on the morning suit lapel. The cornflower is one of the few flowers of Melbourne that fit the buttonhole, but it also symbolises that Derby is the blue ribbon event for 3-year-old colts. It's also a popular choice for women to wear black and white on Derby Day, and today's certainly no exception. But did you know that this too comes from superstition? Lord Derby's original colours were simply black until the day his jockey changed rapidly to ride the Earl of Derby's horse in the 1924 Derby and hurriedly buttoned his white stock over one black button. Well, you guessed it, the horse won the race, and from that day on, Lord Derby kept black and white as his colours. Well, I'm a bit superstitious too, so I guess I've lucked out.
Never, Michelle.
mountain Simon Marshall has had to climb has seemed just too high. One of the most gifted riders in the land, Marshall is also one of the heaviest, and he's had to endure Spartan disciplines just to be able to pick up a couple of rides at the top end of the weight scale.
You get very down, like a lot of people don't realise that it's a 7-day-week job for me. That's my #1 job, keeping a hold of my weight.
He'd frequently push himself too hard, but these days Marshall has come to terms with his limited opportunities and his short career lifespan.
I've realised now I can only keep this up for 6 months of the year, not a full year, because I must give the body a break, because I've got to remain 10 to 12 kilograms underneath my natural weight for 6 months of the year.
In the meantime, he's seeking unusual ways to keep his mind fresh for the weight battle. Although what the top stables who now regularly call on this heavyweight hoops expertise would think of their jockey taking a dive is debatable.
3, 2, 1,
Marshall has had particular success on the Lee Freedman Weight for Age star Durbridge. But David Hayes, Bart Cummings and other trainers of top weights also appreciate the special talents of this young man who was, as they say, born into the saddle.
I've been known to sing Durbridge's song, I'll tell you that. But it's more or less just talking to the horse and asking him to relax or her to relax, because a lot of people don't realise a horse has got eyes, ears and a brain, and they can hear and they respond to kindness, you know. So it's logical when I'm out in a staying race that I'll talk to a horse and ask it to relax, and I think that's been one of my traits over the past few years. You don't like this techno beat, mate, you got to just sing him a nice little slow song, you know, he responds to that. He's not a hip-hop horse, you could say.
The jocks, they've all got a sense of humour, there's no doubt about that. And here's a man who's pretty much had to have a sense of humour this week, hasn't he? The trainer of Vintage Crop, Dermot Weld, very kindly joins me. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
You're looking well, but importantly, how's he?
Well, he's improved all the week, and after the events, which I'm sure everybody's aware of, hopefully we can only go forward from here.
I read it, I think this morning, that you've had a lot of advice, a lot of potions and cures from all over Australia. It must be gratifying to know that you've got that sort of support.
Yes, indeed. I was very gratified and appreciate all the very kind gestures, offers. We need all the prayers. The potions, unfortunately, we cannot use, but I'm sure we look into them and see if someday, you know, they can be used for other effects and help.
As we were just saying before we came on the air, I mean, obviously if a horse has 14 stitches in his leg, it's not going to help him in the lead up to a big race like this, but if any horse can handle it, Vintage Crop can.
That's it. Depending on how he works on Sunday morning, I'll make a definite decision there.
Okay.
But I'm pretty confident he'll make it.
Yeah.
What we don't know is how much it has taken out of him in regards to stress and pain. Yeah. He does have all those stitches in his leg.
That's true.
And
2 miles a long way.
It is, but he's a special horse. And I wouldn't ask most horses to do it, but hopefully we'll be asking him.
Yeah, and how is he in himself? Does he seem okay?
Yeah, he's in good form. He lost a couple of kilos weight during the week because he didn't eat as well as I'd like.
Sure.
With pain, but he's picking up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I saw him on my program, Sports Tonight, during the week, and he came out and had a bit of a walk around. He looked pretty happy. He looked sprightly. And
yeah, the tragedy is that I had him better than ever.
Yeah, that's right.
He was definitely, whatever you saw last year, you were going to see a very special horse this year.
So what you're saying to us is if Vintage Crop wins the Melbourne Cup this year, he's an extremely special horse.
I would say so, yes. A horse to overcome the pain that he's endured during the week, got to be special.
Yeah, I mean, it's really terrible luck, isn't it? I mean, it's a freak accident, that
Totally freak. It was just a 1 to 1 chance, and anyway, it's behind us, and we're going to look forward.
I wonder if I could get you, apart from Vintage Crop, to tell me what you think your main dangers are in the Cup.
I think it's a very good race this year. I think Alcove ran a superb race the other day. I think Top Rating is a class horse. I thought he won very impressive. Paris Lane will be interesting today. I didn't see him win, but I gather he's a very good horse in the making. And Quick Ransom from England is, handicap-wise, I'm meeting him far worse here in Australia than I would in England. But on his day, he's a very competitive horse.
All right. Well, again, thanks for coming in to join us.
My pleasure.
All the best with the big fella. We'll see how he is on Sunday, and you'll make that decision then.
That's it.
The trainer of Vintage Crop, just stay there for a second. Dermot Weld, so there you go, Pete. That's from not the horse's mouth, but from his best mate's mouth, as we go down to you for the wakeful.
Yeah, it's great news, Tim, and I've been following his progress throughout the week, and we'll be out there to have a look at him at Sandown bright and early tomorrow morning, and let's hope the great horse is here on Tuesday. Well, more immediate matters, Jim. We've got the Wakeful Stakes, and these fillies are in the mounting yard now, field of 11, and Danarani is the hot pot amongst this huge crowd at Flemington. They've been casting an eye over her, and she looks particularly well.
She does look well, Peter, and she's a very, very good filly, this one. She's only had the 6 starts, and she's won 4 of those and run second in the other 2 races. It's hard to see her not finishing in the first few here, and I think Stephen King will do everything right on her here. She's certainly got a very good chance.
Clary Connors has got number